What's up guys, it's Wasabi and I'm back with another review. This video is not sponsored, these are my thoughts, personal opinions and experiences with the product. And today we have the brand new Viper V3 Pro from Razer. Before we get on with the review, here's a quick look at the packaging because that's what you pay for too. This is Razer's updated packaging, looks pretty much the same on the outside but with a couple of changes to cut down on materials on the inside. First, you got the Viper V3 Pro, coding looks wonderful. You get a hyperpolling wireless dongle as standard and it comes in the same colorway as this mouse. It includes a USB-C cable, this one's not bendy at all and feels very stiff. The instruction manual comes wrapped up in this plastic made of post-consumer recycled content. Pretty cool, but it doesn't make much sense to wrap up an instruction manual. It would be a lot greener without it. Get a set of grip tapes and Razer stickers. And that's pretty much all that's included inside the box. Now before we go any further, let's manage some expectations here real quick. Well, I don't think we need an introduction of Razer and what they do. Today we have the much anticipated Viper V3 Pro, the latest addition to the Viper line. Before this, Razer released the Viper V3 Hyperspeed, which was a good entry-level mouse for competitive gamers and an introduction to Razer's hyperpolling tech. Now keep in mind that this Pro version is pretty much the same shape as the Hyperspeed. Designed with a right-handed symmetrical shape that is best suited for claw and fingertip grip style according to their product page. Made for competitive gaming and esports with a lightweight build of 54 grams for the black colorway and 55 grams for the white one, which we have today. The Viper V3 Pro is available for a price of $160. The design is, well, it's not bad, it's just a little bland. To be fair, it's likely because I've gone through the Viper V3 Hyperspeed and V2 Pro. What I like about Razer products over the last 19 years when I first got my Razer mouse and many more after, well, not every mouse because there's like 34 releases of a Death Adder, 35 if you include the latest bundle version of the V3 Pro with the smooth touch coding. Anyway, what I appreciate is that the designs always looked interesting. The Viper V3 Pro is very simple and minimalistic, which is kind of odd for a Razer product. The unique Viper identity is long lost going from the V2 to the V3 since the release of the V3 Hyperspeed last year. To be fair, I'm pretty sure they had to compromise on some things to accommodate the expectations of today's gamer and streamline the designs of their esports line. Really, there's not much to talk about the design here. It looks like a symmetrical Death Adder V3 Pro, and that one stood out in the design because of its curves, but here, not so much. The build quality here is probably the best Razer has ever done. I can't talk much about QC because I only have one unit and there aren't enough reports at the moment of quality issues to come to a conclusion, but I will say that this mouse is very well put together, which is very impressive coming from Razer. Pretty much zero play in the mouse buttons, side buttons, and scroll wheel. Structure feels solid, no creaking or loose components in the build. It's a job well done. Now before I get into more detail of the shape and how it feels from my experience, to put things into perspective, my hand size is 17.5 by 9. Grooves on the mouse buttons feel nice and supportive, but only if you have your fingers placed closer to the front. Any further than that, you don't feel it and you lose its benefits. Side walls are on the flatter side if you compare it to the Viper V2 Pro, which makes it more accommodating to different variations of the three main grip styles. And it has a gentle inward curve towards the bottom of the mouse, and this gives you a good balance of grip and space to position your fingers. The rear end feels wide in your palm, and this is actually just a little bit narrower than the V2 Pro. It is still pretty wide, which I find to be good because it makes the mouse feel planted and gives stability in quick movements. The hump was also raised higher and shifted rearward since the design changed from the Viper V2 Pro to the V3 Hyperspeed, and it gives you a good amount of support in the lower portion of your palm. If you didn't like the shape of the V3 Hyperspeed, this will not change your mind. Don't mistake this as a small mouse because it's really not, and it will be best suited for medium to large hand sizes. But this being a symmetrical shape, it's a lot more forgiving than an ergonomic shape when it comes to hand size. Personally, I would use a relaxed claw grip or a palm grip with this mouse. It's a decently safe shape in Razer's esports lineup that I think many people can pick up and find comfortable to use. This part is a reference to help people visualize the different grip styles on the Viper V3 Pro with reference to my hand size. Very accommodating shape shape that works well with a relaxed claw, which is my favorite here, and a regular claw as well. And depending on your hand size, you can probably even use an aggressive claw grip. With a palm grip, it feels very comfortable here. Just note that Razer's signature flare sides are here, so you may feel a bit discomfort during long hours of play if you keep your fingers extended. Fingertip grip style I personally would not use because of my hand size, and the mouse is quite sizable and long, which would be better for larger hand sizes. Stated weight on the website is 55 grams with this white colorway, and with this unit it comes in at 54.8 grams. Not bad. The coating is very nice, smooth to the touch, and offers a lot of grip even when your hands get a little wet. I don't feel the need for the grip tapes on these. I do not have a black version to compare, but I've had the Viper V3 Hyperspeed and I enjoy the coating here just a bit more. Feels drier with a bit more grip. Not sure if they're using a different coating or if it's just the way this white colorway feels. The Razer Optical mouse switches Gen 3 are what you would find on the Viper V2 Pro, but here they feel a little less mushy with a decent rebound. Really nothing too new about the switches here. If you like the clicks on the Viper V2 Pro, you should like it here as well. Sound-wise, they're not too loud. They're sort of mild, crispy, and sound softer than the Dev Adder V3 Pro. However, I must say that the Viper V3 Hyperspeed mouse buttons and side buttons were a lot more satisfying than the buttons here, but those were mechanical switches. So in general, I feel the optical switches on the Viper V3 Pro are okay. And on the crispy meter, with the way they sound and feel, I would put them right about here. No pre-travel on the side buttons, but a little post-travel to them. Decent enough tactility to the clicks with a soft, mushy feeling towards the end. They are fitted very well in the build and are in a good position with a good length for both buttons for a mouse of this size. Scroll wheel is tight, no wobble, decent distinction between each step in the scroll. Grip on the rubber threads are okay, and scroll clicking is good. The Viper V3 Pro has a new Razer Focus Pro 35K optical sensor Gen 2. That's a lot of words. And this one goes all the way up to 35,000 dpi. Max speed of 750 IPS and max acceleration up to 70 Gs, same as before. With this new sensor, it allows for single step increments in the dpi. It's not something I would use, but perhaps you are someone who wishes to use 1599 dpi. You can do it here. There is a feature called Sensitivity Matcher, which allows the sensor to replicate the DPI settings of whichever mouse you are currently using, which is good because of variances between different sensors. For example, 1600 DPI on the port 3395 can feel a little different from the sensor here. So this is a good feature that helps you ease into the mouse a lot quicker. This sensor has motion sync and it's always on. There's no option to turn it off. I have to say that when it comes to tech with gaming mice, Razer was already one of the best with the Viper V2 Pro and the Dev Adder V3 Pro. And the improvements with the sensor here is not something that you will notice if you come from either of those. But nonetheless, you won't be disappointed with its performance and reliability. Sensor placement is right in the middle of the mouse, and with how I hold this mouse, my thumb is nicely aligned with the sensor, and that's my personal preference because it's an arrangement where I feel I have the most control over the mouse. If it's positioned any higher or lower, I would tweak my in-game sensitivity to balance it out, which is something I prefer not to do. Synapse is pretty much the same, nothing good to say about it really. You can remap your buttons, set up different profiles. It has Hypershift, which lets you set an additional layer of functions to your programmable buttons. In the performance tab, there is a new function called Auto Pooling Rate Switcher. It helps save a lot of battery life if you're too lazy to open up Synapse and bump up your polling rate every time you hop into a game. Power tab to manage your power settings, and the calibration tab to adjust your liftoff distance and landing distance. With the hyperpolling dongle that comes included with the mouse, you can go all the way up to 8000 Hz wireless polling rate. Not something I would recommend unless you have a setup that can support it and a high refresh rate monitor to reap the full benefits of the smooth experience. But with whichever polling rate you decide to use, just make sure the cable is fully inserted in the dongle because it is quite a tight fit when you first get it out of the box. One thing I trust with Razer gaming mice is the high polling rate wireless performance and probably the only one I would trust when it comes to 8000Hz wireless polling rate, at least for now. If you want to buy this mouse just for the 8000Hz wireless polling rate, by all means go for it, because if you end up not using high polling rates, there is a high chance that you find other things you enjoy about this mouse. Connectivity wise, you can use this mouse wirelessly or wired with the included USB-C cable, though there are two things I want to mention about using this mouse wired, because there are still gamers who prefer it. The first thing is that with a wired connection, the maximum polling rate you can use is capped at 1000Hz. The second thing is that the included USB-C cable is a lot stiffer than the cables they used to provide before, and I would recommend looking for a more flexible cable if you plan to use it wired. The battery life is okay, it goes up to 95 hours at 1000Hz, 40 hours at 4000, and 17 hours at 8000. The skates on the Viper V3 Pro are good and I like it a lot. I like using wired skates on my mice and enjoy the quality of the skates that come with Razer mice in general. And the skates give a lot of control and smoothness in the glide. Skates feel great on my main mousepad, the Artisan Zero Extra Soft and Soft. A little too much static and dynamic friction on the Zowie GSR2 for me. I think my favorite pad using these skates for Valorant was the GSR SE. Good amount of speed, very nice level of control and smoothness with the wide skates. Overall performance and feel of the Viper V3 Pro is good. Great tracking and precision as always, and the mouse feels stable and planted through quick swipes for its size. The shape is comfortable and unlikely you'll feel much fatigue here compared to something like a claw-focused mouse. The hump of the mouse feels like it leans more towards feeling relaxed and comfortable than supportive in game. And if your setup can support it, high polling rates of 2, 4, and 8000 have been stable and reliable with my experience. So in conclusion, what are 3 things I like about this mouse? The build quality is brilliant. This is the most fantastic thing about this mouse. Large wide skates are something that I enjoy for a smooth and controlled glide because of the games that I play. And the last thing is that it comes with the hyper polling dongle as standard, which is nice to see from a big company. You don't feel like part of the experience is locked behind a paid DLC like what they used to do, and it's convenient for people in different regions because the hyper polling dongle that they sell is exclusive to the Razer Store. So what are 3 things I feel can be improved with this mouse? I think they should have done something more with the switches and the scroll wheel. There's nothing wrong with them, but going from a V2 to a V3 Pro, it would have been nice to see a change in those 2 points to make this mouse feel more of an upgrade for the price. I do have a suggestion that concerns battery life, but it's not about adding more hours, but in a way just the convenience of charging. In the near future, it's likely for both casual and competitive gamers to use polling rates of 4000Hz and above as standard. It would be great if future mice had a charging system like, for example, what Zowie does with their mice, and still managing to keep the weight down. Because with convenience like that, I really wouldn't mind having my mouse at 8000Hz for long hours of gaming. This is such a safe mouse and it's not easy to pick on anything else other than the software, but even I feel bored sharing how much gamers don't like it. So final thoughts and what I think of its value. Well, for the price and coming from Razer, I can't help but feel there should have been more, because with product launches from Razer, there's usually something that stands out which makes you want to buy it despite its price. With the Viper V3 Pro, it feels like they were just playing it safe. Shape is the same as the Hyperspeed as it should, which is a decent shape. Mouse clicks, side buttons, and scroll wheel are all good. Sensor is new and improved, but not something you would feel, and I still appreciate some weight to the mouse, so the weight of 54 grams is pretty nice for me. Now don't get me wrong, this is not to say that the Viper V3 Pro is a bad mouse, because it's good. But honestly, for me, there are only 3 reasons why I got this mouse aside from having a review channel. First is because it's white and I like white. It's the only colorway that they don't have for the Viper V3 Hyperspeed. Secondly, this now has a more sensible sensor placement over the Hyperspeed version. It's a personal preference. And the third reason is I like Razer, and not because it's a Singaporean American company, but because their products are usually interesting. Shaky with the QC and customer service, yes, but I have no doubt that they have the potential to launch something very impressive. Hype is usually something I don't bother about, maybe because I have a marketing background and it helps me see through all the fluff. But some hype is always good, and it's nice to hear that people are excited about something and found a product that they really enjoy. Anyway, should you get the V3 Pro if you're coming from a V2 Pro? Well, it's tough to say. After using this mouse for a while now, I wouldn't see this as an upgrade from the V2 Pro because they are quite different in shape and feel. This is a mouse I recommend to try if your current mouse is having issues, if you're a big fan of Razer products, or you are just not sure what you want, because this is a safe shape and high chance you'll find it more usable than others. Many people are enjoying this one so so far, and I think that's fantastic. Now, the biggest question you guys are probably wondering, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting for a comparison video, is this better than the Superlight 2? My short answer is that they are ever so slightly different, and what's better really depends on what you look for in the mouse. I find the Viper V3 Pro to be a more comfortable experience, while the Superlight 2 is a lot more supportive with its hump and more accommodating to more grip styles with its flat sides. You know, comfort and support don't always come equal with gaming mice, because there are mice that are super supportive with its shape, which makes them great for intense plays, but not something you would use for an entire day. Shape is the most significant factor that contributes to the experience of the mouse, so if you're on the fence of getting the Viper V3 Pro, I would recommend that you give the Viper V3 Hyperspeed a try. You should be able to find one on sale or get one secondhand and just see how much you like the shape. I would say that the Viper V3 Pro is probably the first Razer product that I can safely recommend to new gamers looking to try something on the higher end. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, please leave a like and subscribe to support the channel, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.